You're listening to the podcast about little-known niche subcultures and hobbies that reintroduces you to your neighbors in Technicolor. I'm Leslie Thompson, and it's niche to meet you. You're listening to the podcast about little-known niche subcultures and hobbies that reintroduces you to your neighbors in Technicolor. I'm Leslie Thompson, and it's niche to meet you. I'm walking in downtown St. Paul at the end of January. The temperature is in the single digits, and I'm cold in body but warm in spirit because I'm here for what's called the Winter Carnival. It's an annual tradition in St. Paul to celebrate winter. The carnival boasts loads of activities and delightful niches, things like snow sculptures, ice castles, but I'm headed somewhere inside. It's a room filled with tables and a lot of mumbling that sounds like this.
Hey, we got some words together already. Yeah, look at that.
Okay, now don't look at your screen and try to forget anything you know about this episode. If I were to ask you what that woman is doing on the other end of the microphone, what would you guess?
Yeah, I love this cut, so it's gonna really hold, or it should.
If you guessed competitive speed puzzling, you'd be right. And this 4-person team you're hearing is one of the best in the entire world. But today, they're competing at the largest speed puzzling contest in North America, held in the heart of Minnesota. But this isn't just a story about competing against others to solve puzzles as quickly as possible. No, it's about how a global crisis sparked new traditions, deepened human connection, and turned an isolating time into a foundation for community and belonging. This is a story about piecing together divided things in more ways than one. I'm Leslie. It's niche to meet you. And this is competitive speed puzzling. Competitive speed puzzling. Oh yeah, it's a thing. Speed puzzling is one of those niches that immediately draws me in like a moth to a flame. They've got their own language, celebrities, and methodologies that the outside world is gobsmacked by. Seeing it in person is even more thrilling than the videos I'd seen circulated online. There are hundreds of round tables surrounded by people furiously moving their hands. Many teams have tripod contraptions attached to the table for their phones to capture the solve in a time lapse. Between the tables and media are judges, keeping watch for tables who are nearing completion. But this whole thing actually starts hours before the clock counts down when teams begin arriving on site to form a line behind a barrier. Competitors stand in full sight of the arena as they scheme amongst themselves for the best spot in the sea of folding tables, because finding the best spot, it matters. I supposed with my art director, Rachel, about what we think they'd be looking for.
The best light is going to be like here. Dark pieces.
There'd be a lot of contrast under the light. So would that be helpful? Like, would you see the shadow of pieces?
A glare? Like, how much does glare play into this?
Yeah. Are they shiny puzzle pieces?
Oh my gosh.
I'm so stressed out.
I am too.
We could only guess at what a competitor is considering when they look at the open space, and it turns out we kind of nailed it.
We can kind of see where the skylights are, like you can see the more light on the tables, and that's probably better. And then that kind of shiny white thing at the very back of the room, there's a worry that it would have too much glare. Yeah, glare on the puzzle.
This is Caitlin McLeod, a Canadian transplant living in California. She and her team were the first in line behind the barrier. And not only were they concerned about the lights, but the tables, too.
We want a square table because we think the round tables will be too difficult to reach across. So maybe the round tables have more space to move around, but they said it was harder to do the puzzle. So I'm banking on that.
Coming together, it's going to be on one side, and then the people across the circle are going to have a hard time reaching the puzzle.
Caitlin and her team look to puzzle influencers, celebrities, who have been at this contest before to decide what table to get. Influencers like Sarah Schuler. Her team, whose name is We Put the Betch in You Betcha, a very Minnesotan name, landed in the top 5 at the World Competitions in Spain last year. This was an event that was covered by the likes of the New York Times. So Sarah is kind of famous, and she has war stories.
Because at Worlds, they put thing down, a big, huge camera. They put it down, and we're like, someone move this camera. We're yelling. So then we lost by 30 seconds. So who knows? But we got to work with it.
Sarah tells me what to expect when the clock strikes 8:30.
Yeah, Stampede. It's kind of scary, honestly. Yeah. It's like Black Friday circa 2007.
And just like legend foretold, at 8:30, hordes of aggressively polite competitors charge the space in order to claim their tables. It actually is not that impressive on video. No one got punched in the face, but there was a lot of very fast walking.
Okay, all right.
The back is rushing.
The back is rushing. Okay.
Okay, we're getting more excited.
Okay, I'm seeing running. I'm not seeing any trampling, though.
As the teams claim their tables, they begin to shed their heavy outerwear, revealing team shirts with puzzle-themed names like The Jig is Up, Sort It Out, Fast and Puzzleless, The Puzzle Patrol. Caitlin's team, having been at the front of the line, was pleased with their table selection.
Okay, what kind of table did you get?
We got the exact table we wanted.
Now, the amazing thing about their team, they've never practiced together before. In fact, today is the first time they've met in person, ever.
Ashley's from New Jersey. Megan's from Minnesota. I'm technically from Canada. Caroline's from California. So we're from all over, and we just found each other on Facebook, Instagram, and made a team.
We met 2 hours ago.
Online community also played an important role for another team called What the Flip, which includes, wait for it, my high school speech camp roommate. Yes, you heard that right. If you've been listening to this show and couldn't shake the feeling that the host must have spent 2 weeks out of her summer in high school at a competitive speech camp at an esteemed university, well, there's a reason for that. Because I did. And while I was at Winter Carnival, I saw a face that I hadn't seen since 2006. My roommate, Tally Kleinfelter. Seriously, I didn't know she would be there until I saw her blue hair and cat eye puzzle pattern glasses.
How many times have you all played as a group together?
Once last night.
Yeah, once last night.
Tally's team is mostly based in Atlanta, but they found a fourth mate in Nathan, who lives in Indiana.
I met some other people at an Indiana puzzle party, which is a thing I learned earlier this year. I don't know how you found me, honestly.
Some of my friends from Instagram were at the puzzle party, and we were in a group chat, and I was like, oh man, we need a fourth person for our team. And they're like, well, there is this guy Nathan there, and he seemed really nice, and he's kind of fast.
Now, I hate to spoil a good ending for you, but Team What the Flip, they're really fast. They came in third at this contest, and it all starts with the strategy.
We've been talking about what roles everybody has in terms of organizing or taking particular sections. Like Jasper's going to do the edges. He's our edge lord. Margaret's really good at sorting and passing pieces.
So we know kind of what our strengths and weaknesses are. So for me, I get stressed out opening the box, so I leave that to somebody else. But I'm happy to take a giant building or the sky with a gradient. So we do a lot of puzzles, and we know what type of puzzles we are best at. So we try to kind of claim the sections of the image that we're most likely to be successful.
Amid the game talk, eyes dart around the room to see where the top competitors ended up. They compare their table choice against their own, and spectators observe the table placements too, like this woman who drove up from Texas, who told us that the winners last year were the underdogs.
They won last year, and there was no camera on them because everybody was looking at these guys these guys are gonna win today. The Betches, yeah.
The Betches. Yeah, that's Sarah Schuler's team, the one who competed at Worlds. They're wearing black and white flannel shirts over their team shirts, which bear the full name, We Put the Betch in You Betcha. They are among the celebrities in this room.
You said that guy said
The flannels is the team to beat.
well, that's exactly where I'm headed next then. All right, to the flannels.
The Betches who have since shed their flannels hung them on the back of their chairs, are sitting smack dab in the center of the room, right in front of the projector screen with a timer, and their table is perfectly positioned below one of the large skylights in the room. In the final moments before the countdown, teams surround their tables at the ready. The puzzle is sitting on top of the table in an opaque drawstring bag. One team member has a hand on the bottom of the bag. Another has their hand on the top, for maximum unveiling speed when the clock starts, because they've never seen this puzzle before. They stand like this, still, for a minute. And in the room, it feels similar to living rooms across America in the early years of American Idol, when we were miserably dragged through multiple commercial breaks before the eventual winner reveal. The phrase, "You could cut the tension with a knife," applies without reservation. And then the countdown.
Oh God. Here we go. Go. Plastic.
Oh my God.
Do you hear that? The bag, the plastic, the cardboard box being flipped open and put on a special stand at the front of the table for reference. It's completely and totally amazing. I mostly stood by the Betches table, but behind me was a team with matching cycling jerseys bearing the name Golden State Puzzlers. Tammy McLeod is one of these members, who's also really, really good.
I technically hold 2 Guinness World Records, but one of them hasn't been updated on the website yet. I was one of the founding members of the USA Jigsaw Puzzle Association.
She was also featured in a recent video by YouTube viral star and scientist Mark Rober. Mark had her first compete against Kristen Bell. Then, the whole point of the video, a robot he built, specifically to beat someone like her, like Tammy. And, well, it did.
I think I knew it was going to happen. I mean, his focus, after all, is introducing engineering to children and making them excited for it. So it makes sense that the technology shows promise.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I did let down the entire human race.
Even though she's not a droid and is, in fact, a human being, Tammy went to MIT for computer programming. Puzzles for her are a problem to solve.
I like putting things in order, sorting out problems. Jigsaw puzzles are kind of a natural fit for that, because everything's jumbled to start with, and I like to sort it out and make a sense of it. And I like things that have a definite solution, which Sudoku does and Jigsaw puzzles does. It works very well with the person I am.
If you haven't noticed, Tammy's highly analytical, and her specialty is sorting.
I love sorting. I mean, if there's enough people to handle the putting together pieces, I love to sort. But in a team situation, we've worked out a way such that some people are working on the edge and doing it downtime, some other people are sorting, and then when they finish with that, everybody can get started on the sorted piles, and there's a burst of productivity that way, and so we make a good amount of progress during that initial period, which is really important for the speed, I think.
And while she's sorting in the heat of competition, she doesn't make much noise.
I'm used to puzzling by myself, and I usually internalize my thoughts. For a while, when I was recording myself, I tried to talk through my thought process, but it actually took away from my ability to focus on the puzzle. But I puzzle with a team sometimes. There are 4 of us, and the other members of my team are more vocal.
This approach is in stark contrast to the Betches at the table I was standing near, and Sarah Schuler especially, who are anything but subtle.
How are people laughing? This is serious. This is serious. Yeah. Oh, there's that piece I needed. Okay, I must slide it in the middle.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll catch up with the Betches in this competition and hear more about how puzzle people found sanity and community through a global crisis. We'll be right back. Doesn't puzzling sound so fun? I'll tell you, in the course of researching and writing this episode, I took it up myself. And picking up the hobbies we feature on this show isn't necessarily the goal of the project. I'm not looking for a hobby myself, but these benefits were compelling enough for me to try it. You'll hear more about those in the second half. So I bought a fancy puzzle board with sorting drawers and a lazy Susan on the bottom, and I brought out a puzzle that I got for Christmas several years ago. It's an Iditarod puzzle, and it has a dog sled team and a musher, and it was perfect because when I started it, there were about 6 weeks left until the 2025 Iditarod. Anyway, Here's the thing. It was a generic puzzle, and to be honest, I wasn't quite sure it was made by a company who knows puzzles. The pieces didn't fit well together, the design was really hard to complete. But thankfully, there are indeed companies who make puzzles carefully and thoughtfully and have a really great, rich puzzle tradition. And if you're thinking that adopting a puzzle practice as a way of mindfulness or non-screen time relaxation may be good for you, you should start with such a company. Like our sponsors for this story, Springbok Puzzles. So Springbok is a household name for puzzlers. In the second episode of this story, you'll learn more about the role that Springbok has had in the popularity of speed puzzling. They've been the leading puzzle manufacturer since 1963, and they take their puzzle quality very seriously. If you want to get into puzzling, start where the puzzle people start, with Springbok. You can follow the link in our show notes to their website, and you can use code NICHEPUZZLE10 for 10% off your first puzzle order. Isn't that so kind? So go right now, get yourself some puzzles. You don't have to do them quick, you can do them as slow as you want, and you're about to hear why it's really, really good for you. Ready? Here we go. Doesn't puzzling sound so fun? I'll tell you, in the course of researching and writing this episode, I took it up myself. And picking up the hobbies we feature on this show isn't necessarily the goal of the project. I'm not looking for a hobby myself, but these benefits were compelling enough for me to try it. You'll hear more about those in the second half. So I bought a fancy puzzle board with sorting drawers and a lazy Susan on the bottom, and I brought out a puzzle that I got for Christmas several years ago. It's an Iditarod puzzle, and it has a dog sled team and a musher, and it was perfect because when I started it, there were about 6 weeks left until the 2025 Iditarod. Anyway, here's the thing. It was a generic puzzle, and to be honest, I wasn't quite sure it was made by a company who knows puzzles. The pieces didn't fit well together, the design was really hard to complete. But thankfully, there are indeed companies who make puzzles carefully and thoughtfully and have a really great, rich puzzle tradition. And if you're thinking that adopting a puzzle practice as a way of mindfulness or non-screen time relaxation may be good for you, you should start with such a company. Like our sponsors for this story, Springbok Puzzles. So Springbok is a household name for puzzlers. In the second episode of this story, you'll learn more about the role that Springbok has had in the popularity of speed puzzling. They've been the leading puzzle manufacturer since 1963, and they take their puzzle quality very seriously. If you want to get into puzzling, start where the puzzle people start, with Springbok. You can follow the link in our show notes to their website, and you can use code NICHEPUZZLE10 for 10% off your first puzzle order. Isn't that so kind? So go right now, get yourself some puzzles. You don't have to do them quick, you can do them as slow as you want, and you're about to hear why it's really, really good for you. Ready? Here we go. Now, let's get back to the gladiators in the speed puzzling arena.
Oh God. Here we go.
Go, 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 go.
The clock has started.
You got it.
Oh my God. Plastic, plastic, plastic.
Oh my
The box
God.
comes out of the plastic, and the patches are off.
God.
Okay, bottom towards me or bottom towards you? Bottom towards you because you're doing border.
Yep, that's fine.
They're in the heat of competition.
All the pieces get out of this damn bag.
The clock continues as tables surrounding me furiously sort and place tiny pieces of cardboard while mumbling around a table.
Hey, we got some words together already.
5 minutes. The edges begin to form.
Green edges this way. Yep.
10 minutes. Interior sections take shape in front of individual competitors who move them carefully into the center using a technique called the Mallory move, in which the two outermost pieces of the section are compressed toward the center so that all the pieces stay put as they're picked up and moved.
Yeah, I love this cut. So it's gonna really move, or it should.
15 minutes. The sky is going in. And then
It better be back on Alice.
I'm not looking.
I'm not looking either, but I'm just saying.
at 16 minutes and 38 seconds, cheering and astonished chatter erupt from several tables away from us. another table finished before the Betches. One might call this an upset. They weren't the favored team. But if you're paying attention to the speed puzzling sport in the last 5 months, this is not at all surprising, because these 4 women
I'm Alice Rowe.
Kelly Walter.
Becca Taylor.
Sammy Brownlow.
are legendary.
Kelly Walter was 4th in the world last year. Yeah, in the world.
Alice Rowe was national champion.
And Sammy's on Wicked Quick, which is arguably the most famous puzzle team from the U.S. now.
So what is your team name? Puzzle at the Disco.
The youngest member on their team, Alice, is only 17, and this is not the first time she's pulled off an upset. Here's Jessica, who runs an organization called the Puzzle Republic. They resource people to build little puzzle libraries in their neighborhood, and she remembers watching this competition on a live stream.
They always put the best competitors like near the front so that they can get airtime and they can easily film them and all this and that. And during the individual competition, they have the cameras on like the Karen puzzles and like Tammy and all of the go-to players. So while this is all going on and Karen's working on her puzzle and Tammy's working on hers, they see some girl in the back of the room put their hands up, who happens to be Alice, who is a 17-year-old from Colorado, is the fastest puzzler in the United States. And all the cameras were like, what? And like whip around.
I just got
like,
goosebumps. Here's that actual moment of drama.
Under 40.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Look at that.
Puzzle at the Disco is a dream team, but so are the Betches. And 1 minute and 10 seconds later, Sarah Schuler put her final piece in, piece number 500, coming in second place.
1748.
Second place, Sarah. We love it.
500 pieces in 17 minutes and 48 seconds. Now, what you just heard is an exceptional moment of sportsmanship, but you wouldn't know it just listening to the audio without any context because they're so calm. No screaming, no loud cheering, and I can tell you, there were no victory dances, just pure delight. The personalities of these folks, every puzzler I met, while unique, share a common trait. They're measured, exacting, and yet so welcoming. So hospitable. Here's Tammy McLeod again.
We all fly to and we see each other. We've built real friendships that way. It's not you are my competitor. We are just there to compete at the same event. But we're not out to say, oh my God, I beat this person finally. Or maybe so. I can't speak for everybody. This is the way I approach it. It's like I'm there to see all my friends and I'm there to have fun and challenge myself.
To meet a speed puzzling competitor on the street would leave no particularly distinctive impression. Of course, unless you happen to start talking about speed puzzling. They're normal-looking people. Teachers, nurses, librarians, engineers, but they're exceptionally intriguing to watch doing puzzles because they're just so delightful in the middle of the solve. Here's Sarah Schuler and her teammate Lauren in some pretty classic Betches commentary.
Hey, look, I put together some of that card. Don't look, actually. Keep going, but I did it.
Look, don't look. Getting mixed signals here, Sarah. Get every guy you've ever dated.
Sarah is a generational puzzler. She inherited the legacy from her mom and uncle, who competed annually at this exact competition in Minnesota and eventually needed a replacement member. In walks Sarah. She's now ranked number 1 in the nation by speedpuzzling.com and number 4 in the nation by the USA Jigsaw Puzzle Association. In 2021, she left her IT consulting job for a full-time puzzle career. So in addition to participating in contests, she's an influencer of sorts and sells her own puzzles. She also runs competitions. For her and others like her, like Karen Kavett, you heard Jessica mention her a second ago, full-time puzzling became a passion-turned career. Other competitors follow these folks to learn more about the activity and the specific contests, like, remember Caitlin from California? Her team used Karen's videos to determine what kind of table they want. because they hadn't been to this particular event before.
Okay, Karen's video. Are people watching those?
I did, yeah. I pre-watched her older videos of Winter Carnival in preparation for coming here because this is my first time.
We'll actually get to meet Karen in the second part of this story, the next episode, and she's going to teach me how to do a puzzle as quickly as I can, which is so intriguing. And I'm not the only one. This whole thing is growing rapidly, due in part to the unique opportunity it presents for folks who lean toward introversion, a large and perhaps even a majority of the population. Here's Jessica from Puzzle Republic.
People that are very into puzzles and puzzle regularly, a lot of those people are introverts and aren't necessarily super outgoing or social. So when it comes to networking with other people, having a puzzle there while you're talking to them is a sanctuary in a lot of ways. You know, you don't have to continually maintain eye contact. You're kind of building something and doing something with your hands and staying busy while still, you know, talking and interacting with other people. And so I think that's kind of where people that are in that kind of mindset gravitate towards the puzzle community in a way to be able to connect with people without feeling like stressed or anxiety or things like that. I think it helps kind of ease the tension, smooth things over.
For these folks, it can sometimes be hard to meet new people or even navigate conversation with people they already know. So things like finding a niche can be really hard, maybe even painful. Self-isolation is easier, safer in ways. And then sometimes it's necessary. Like when the world faces a deadly, highly contagious, and rapidly spreading virus, like in 2020. And the pandemic's role in this niche of puzzling cannot be overstated. In fact, the puzzle industry at large has the pandemic to thank for the popularity of the activity in recent years, along with events like the St. Paul Winter Carnival. Jessica and her husband had a unique vantage point in this dynamic. And it started even before we knew what COVID was.
I had been puzzling kind of haphazardly as a hobby, as a way of a stress reliever from work and whatnot. And then those puzzles just started piling up. So one day we were just walking by one of those little free libraries in our neighborhood. And that was kind of when we had our aha moment of, why aren't there any of these for puzzles? And there weren't. After doing research online, there was no network for just jigsaw puzzles. So we decided to open up a library of our own.
Jessica's husband found a Barbie hotel at a local antique store, and together they adapted it into what they call
Puzzle Palace. So that is in front of my parents' house. We did the ribbon cutting January 26th of 2020. And now we have over 200 locations across the globe. Yeah, we're in 7 different countries.
At a time when people's dreams and visions and projects were screeching to a halt, the Puzzle Republic was thriving because they saw something organic happening in communities.
Puzzles just peaked during the pandemic. You know, they were selling out and off the shelves and you couldn't get them anywhere. So there were lots of people that had the idea of starting their own libraries or swaps, or even just like putting a bucket out in their front yard and letting their neighbors come and grab them. So in the first few libraries that we started, we had these little notebooks where people could leave notes and write to each other, which during the pandemic turned out to be kind of a pretty big deal because we started sifting through and looking through those notes, and they would put dates, and we would see like neighbors writing notes to each other in the book where they couldn't really see each other in person. So they're like, hey, so-and-so, I just grabbed this puzzle. Hope you and the family are doing well. And then like a few pages later, you see a response. More than one person said like, puzzles have literally saved me during the pandemic and during quarantine. It's a very therapeutic thing, puzzling, right? It's kind of mindless. Like you're solving this problem, you're using your hands and your brain, but it doesn't feel like work. It just feels kind of mindful more than anything, which is what we all needed during that time.
It's true. The benefits of puzzling are studied. They can help improve memory, problem-solving skills, stress levels, and mood.
It's almost a meditative thing.
This is Cynthia Smith. She's a former champion competitor herself, and now she runs the St. Paul Winter Carnival puzzling contest you heard earlier.
Especially in, shall we say, these turbulent times, a puzzle is a problem you can solve. You know you can solve this. You know you will get it done. There's just this satisfaction of putting that last piece in. And then another common thing a lot of puzzlers do is you just rub. You rub the puzzle and you just feel it. It's done. It's complete. You did that.
There's assurance. There's closure. Two things we did not get during the COVID-19 pandemic. But there's another piece to the puzzle story during this time that actually made the benefits of the activity even better. Community found in isolation. Here's Tammy, who had been competing since before COVID.
The difference that COVID made for me was connection. Suddenly, I was having regular online competitions and meetings with people from all around the US, all around the world. I got to know so many people I would never have crossed paths with under normal circumstances.
It gave you connection.
It did. It's through these online mediums that I've actually gotten to know some people really, really well, even though they live across the country from me. People all over the East Coast, in the Midwest, in Northern California, all around the world, people in Australia and in Europe. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet them and connect with them as well if it's just in-person events. That's the honest truth of it. It's just kind of strange when you think about it that isolating myself in my house opened up my borders for me.
This episode is releasing just a few weeks before the 5-year anniversary of the COVID lockdown. And there are brand new studies that just came out showing that most Americans believe the pandemic did more to tear the country apart than bring it together. Like 72%. Only 11% said it did more to bring the country together. Now, I realize what we're talking about is the country here, and there's a lot more going on in the country than puzzles. And it would be navel-gazing to say that puzzle people are part of that 11% that believe the country was brought together over COVID. But certainly within their niche community, it was. And isn't that all we can affect, really? The reach of our own 2 hands, within our own 4 walls? This is where community started for puzzlers. And this is where all good things have to start too, right where we stand. Whether in person or online, this sport offers a solution for community and social interaction, or for individual mindfulness. It provides a sense of belonging that transcends distance and social disconnects. It allows for technology to be used in a way that also encourages us to be embodied in our time and in our place.
I didn't realize it at the time, but it took the change happening for me to realize that's what it did for me, because jigsaw puzzling is as you know, is a very niche activity. To be able to find a large number of people in my physical vicinity that share that same intensive passion for it that I have is difficult. And being able to connect to people everywhere gave me the opportunity to find people as passionate about it as I am. And we connected over that love of that activity, but we've also naturally gravitated to each other because we do share other personality traits and we understand each other, and we become very good friends because of it.
In 2023, there was an op-ed in the Washington Post by essayist Dante Stewart, and it reflected on the community he finds post-pandemic at his local coffee shop, a physical locale, a third place. And his conclusion is that despite our bend toward individualism and autonomy, we have no better weapon to fight isolation than ourselves. I love this article, and I'll link to it in the show notes. Stewart puts it beautifully here.
I've come to believe that being together in a coffee shop, at a concert, in a church, at a bar, outside, inside, day, night, is one of the greatest tools of our resistance and defense. We all want a little love and hope. We could all use a simple tap, 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 a hello in there. This is why I return to the coffee shop. It is not the coffee that I want. It is the people. It has always been the people.
When you marry enjoyment with welcome and kindness, you've got the makings of a powerful community that lasts.
Puzzle people are super nice, like nicer than any other community I've ever known.
What do you think there is about, I don't know, there's just like a kindness behind everyone. Everyone's really honest.
I have so many friends just from puzzling because there's Facebook groups, Discord, email chains. There's so much going on. Everyone is so nice.
Because the activity offers so much in the way of enjoyment and relaxation, it's being mainstreamed to the point where casual public puzzling is becoming common, like in bars or even at competitions. Here's Cynthia Smith again.
One of the biggest complaints I got about last year was that the casual puzzle room was not big enough. And I had, I think, 16 tables. And so I added 6 more tables this year and just made it absolutely huge.
You'll meet Cynthia in the second episode and hear about the history of speed puzzling, along with more about this incredible niche and how it functions as a community. A community that, while growing, was once kind of stigmatized.
It's no longer a thing for like retirees or people with a ton of time or people who it was much more a fringe activity, I think, before the pandemic. And now it's so much more mainstream and it's acceptable and people don't see it as weird activity now.
A fringe activity, she said. Fringes make me think of edges, and I'd be willing to bet that for many of us, the edge is the first place we'd start to complete a puzzle. I know that's true for me. And there's a beautiful analogy in this story about competitive speed puzzling and what happened during the pandemic to the puzzle itself. Dispersed pieces in separate places, coming together over time, whether fast or slow, to make a completed picture. Piece by piece. In part 2 of our story about competitive speed puzzling, we learned the origins of what made this niche what it is. And I'd try it myself, under the tutelage of a world champion puzzle influencer. Thanks to Springbok Puzzles for sponsoring these episodes. If you want to get involved in this niche, you can and you should. And Springbok is the place to start. So check our show notes where you can find a link to their website. And you can even use code NICHEPUZZLE10 for 10% off your first order. Niche to Meet You is created and reported by me, Leslie Thompson. The script producer is Chris Thiessen. Audio mastering is by Kevin Morris. Abigail Flowers composed the theme song, and this arrangement was produced by her, Kevin Gift, and Chris Leidhecker. Rachel Hardiker designed our art. Go further into the nicheverse with us. Join our niche list, where I send monthly niche letters. Check the show notes to find where to join, and we will see you next time.